By CDPAP specifically, yes, but there's also a lot of upside there. There's more risk, there's more upside. They're making a bet. The bet that they're making is that the industry will pull out of it.
There's no negativity.
We started around 9 months ago.
The industry is struggling in general, a lot, and people are looking to make money. That's what this is about.
People don't like to use the VA for some reason, but I believe there's a huge market in the VA.
Do not ask the seller, why haven't you grown this agency to be $100 million? Do not, assume that everybody needs to scale this up to wazoo.
I have yet to hire a marketer, sadly. There's a bigger need out there with sick children than there are for nurses.
If you focus on that niche, you're good at it, you make much more money.
You don't want to have a good exit. You want to know what you can build and how you can build it, and then the time and place will come for something to develop. And if that makes sense, you're going to do it, but there's no easy way out. You got to put the work in.
So I found the one spot in New York with palm trees to introduce the Imperial Advisory Homecare State of Union video. Boys, we spoke to so many different smart people. They told me what's going on in their world, their agency's life, and stay tuned in the next hour or so. Packed with insights, knowledge, good stuff. I hope you enjoy.
So you have these plans, capture the whole Arizona. Tell me about your business. What exactly are you guys doing? Besides capture the whole Arizona, how you can actually execute on that?
So we have local relationships with the VA. So we're trying to service veterans specifically, give back to society and take care of veterans. And we're utilizing those relationships to grow our portfolio of patients and aides.
So let me ask you something strictly as a marketing perspective. Imperial Advisors, we're thinking of buying a veteran brands because we have a bunch of veteran CFOs, and we're thinking of becoming the CFO fractional service for veterans.
That's smart. If it's genuine, it's smart. You really care, you got to really want to give back, and you got to really go the extra mile for them. In the home healthcare space, a lot of people turn down patients because they're hard patients to get. So you really got to show that you can actually go above and beyond specifically for a veteran who's given up their life for the country.
So you're saying that if you execute right, then what? What's the opportunity specifically on being focused on a niche like that? I mean, it could be anything, right? It could also be, swapping another group, but like.
I think I got to get going in a minute, but I think it boils down to the VA compensation is double the amount. So your reimbursement rates per an hour are $43 as opposed to $28 or $26. So that's the answer. If you focus on that niche, you're good at it, you make much more money.
Okay, I never heard of Glatt Hill before. In a sentence, what are you guys?
We are a start-to-finish consulting company. We start with M&A, buying and selling, getting approvals, getting licenses, expanding, getting approved for contracts. Then we work on a lot of compliance stuff. Financial reporting is a big part of what we do, and really take the reporting headache away from the people who are running the agency, and just let them focus on running the actual agency, and then we take care of the annoying stuff, the reporting and that kind of stuff.
Sweet. So you're working with these agencies, and they're telling you what's going on, I assume. So what are you hearing? What are you hearing from the agencies? What are they worried about? What are they struggling through?
Well, obviously a big concern for everybody now in the industry is the CDPAP, FI, split that's coming up, very shortly. Glatt Health is definitely working on assisting with combating the cutoff of this program, but that's definitely something that's on the minds of most clients now.
So what moves are people making from your perspective? What are you seeing? What are you seeing happening? And how are people? What's their next?
So we're seeing a lot of diversification is really what we're seeing. We're seeing a lot of people move to expand to out of state. We're seeing people move to expand into other kinds of healthcare services that function similar to home care, maybe a little bit more specialized care, but that's definitely what we're seeing. A lot of people diversifying now.
Okay, so let's say you have a client, right? They have 1,000, CDPAP people. Now they're like, okay, help me out. What's my next, right? So where do you guys come in? What exactly are you doing for them? And explain to me how your services are kind of playing a part in their next.
So if companies are looking to get approvals for different types of services and expand the types of services that they offer, so we help them file for those applications, walk them through the application process, keep in touch with the DOH, and ultimately help them get approved so that they can expand to other services.
Right. So let's say you gave an example of merger and acquisition before, right? So is that something that you guys have, you touched, you service, you know about it because you just hear the gossip? Like, are you guys involved in other stuff? I just trying to understand like what exactly your thing is.
Yeah, so we're definitely seeing a lot of movement in the industry. There's a lot of people who are trying to consolidate now. Maybe take on another portfolio to kind of adjust for some of the risk that they're facing. So there's definitely a lot of M&A activity going on in the industry right now. Yeah.
So the second part of that question was, so how does that play? Like, what do you guys do? Does your client tell you, hey, listen, I'm looking at this thing in Alabama, right? Is that a conversation you're having with people? Hey, how can you help me? Or you're just like, hey, I'm the New York State reporting guy. Like, what do you want from me? Like,
no, our clients are always coming to us. Clients from both sides of the aisle. Everybody in the industry, if they're looking to buy or looking to sell, will reach out to us. They know that we are, we have our finger on the pulse, and people who are looking to buy come to us, and people looking to sell come to us. And we also prepare. We help prepare companies for their exits. We help organize the financials, help implement maybe a little bit of more streamlined processes, and help present, help bring those companies to market so that they can get the biggest, they can land the biggest offers for them. Also, when it comes to new people who are buying and getting into the industry, we help them set up a lot of their new softwares and new systems, so their financial softwares, their payroll softwares, and we help them set it up with, expansion, growth, and compliance reporting in mind. So it's really, setting the foundation the right way from the beginning to ensure success.
What type of valuations are you seeing? I'm just curious. Are you like the deals that you're seeing on what's the pricing like on these deals? Because obviously there's a lot of money coming out, right? Money going in. Are you saying things double the price they were 5 years ago? Like for the similar type of business, like.
Well, in New York State, the market is always pretty hot, so we're definitely seeing for the price has been going up for a few years already, especially with the difficulty to procure new licenses or expand. So the market's definitely hot right now.
But I guess for New York State, because the ground is shifting for CDPAP, if someone's trying to sell in New York State now, I assume their valuation would be much less.
Well, if you're someone who's affected by CDPAP specifically, yes. But there's also a lot of upside there. There's more risk, there's more upside. We've seen people consolidate FIs. They're making a bet. The bet that they're making is that the industry will pull out of it, and the impending shutoff of the CDPAP program will not follow through as it seems right now, and they're taking that bet. So we do also see activity and movement in the CDPAP markets.
And in terms of the out-of-state stuff, right? The movement going other places, the money going to new states, new types of programs. Well, what types of deals are those if you had to qualify them?
So we see a lot of other programs that are active in New York State and New York City that are gaining a lot of traction. A lot of people moving into those spaces and expanding. NHTD is one of the big programs that's on the rise. It's also one of the one of the things that we focus on at Glad Health is NHTD approvals and applications. We've helped dozens, tens of clients, move into that space, get approved, and help them along with that process. As well as the HRA is also another program that's on the rise right now. There was a big request for proposal that we handled for probably more than 100 agencies.
Okay, awesome. How do people hear more about you? Where do they reach out to you? How can they say hi?
You can visit our website, gladhealth.com. You can find us on LinkedIn. Mordechai Wallhandler is one of the partners. He's well known in the industry. I am Yoni Schechter, Jonah, and you can reach out to us anytime for whatever you need.
Last question. What percent of the industry goes by their English name versus the Hebrew name?
Sorry, say that again.
What percent of the industry goes by their Hebrew name versus their English name?
I don't know. That's I couldn't tell you that.
But it's a vibe check, right? You obviously pick up my vibes. You're a people person, right? Where are people's heads at? That's what I want to know. I know you don't know what's actually happening, but just where are people's heads at? What do you think is happening? Like, you know, when people are thinking about the tequila, right? What are they actually thinking about? Like, what's on their minds?
Yeah, I would say that this industry, what I've seen is the optimism that, like, there's no negativity, there's no pessimism here. This has been going on for the last year or so, and I think that there's a wave of optimism that just continues to grow, and one of the things that we're seeing over here, and we're going to see this tomorrow, is a lot of exploration in that new era of optimism and growth, and where we go from here, and how to take failures and turn it around.
My name is Noah Goldstein.
And we own an ABA company called House of Hearts ABA.
You said you own?
Yes.
Where is your company? Where are you guys based out of? What size, stage, whatever? Tell me about it.
Started in Florida. We're in Colorado, Texas, California,
Maryland.
What other states?
A lot more states to come. We're in 5 states right now.
When did you guys start? Okay, so how do you get from 0 to 5 states?
It's a great question. I think all you got to do is just go all in. That's it. All in.
We doubled down and we grew fast. There's a big market out there, and we took advantage. We're trying to take advantage the best that we can.
Okay, translate. This is for financial CFOs, so we're trying to understand from a financial perspective, what the heck does that mean, double down? Give me the deets. You know, like what was the play there?
The play financially?
You said you doubled down. So what does that mean? You're working 25 hours a day, or you're putting $100,000? Like, you know, you're putting $100,000 a day. I don't know. What does that look like actually? Like, I'm trying to understand. Like, actually, like what moves did you make to actually make that happen?
We built an amazing team. That's the truth. We're pretty ambitious, thank God, and we have people that we delegated pretty much everything to, where they were able to scale us to a pretty.
Yeah, like you guys partners. Okay, so what are your roles, and then what did you guys hire next for?
All right, my role in the company is the financial side, marketing, growth, and just dealing with payroll and just different things on that aspect. And his role is operational, hiring, and yeah, just keeping the team together. That's what it is.
Okay, so then you guys built this team. So what other positions did you hire for next? You're doing marketing and finance and payroll, right? He's doing operations, whatever that means, right? What does that mean actually? What were you actually doing? But then, like, you know, who did you bring on next? Who's the next? What do you need next, right? You're in 5 states. You have a lot of people probably, right? A lot of cases. What does it take to get from 2 to 5 states? Like, you probably need. How many people are working for you now, by the way?
So we have 10 employees right now. I think the key, like Noah, my partner, said, is that having the right people in place, building a team that can do everything amazingly, trusting in the right people to build you up. So you need state directors, we have clinical directors, and each tier there's different therapists to do different jobs and different roles in the company. So that's really the key thing, is to trust in your team, always. So we have an accountant, that's that aspect, and then we also have myself, who built another company. So that's the experience that we have. We don't have any CFOs, or we don't have, yeah.
Cool. So it's been 9 months. Where are you going? Like, what's your, the next 9 months, where do you want to be?
The next 9 months? 5 more states.
What did you say? 500 states?
We do have bigger dreams than that. Our goal, we don't want to be an ABA company. We want to be a healthcare company spanning a variety of different services. That's why we're here at this event, honestly. We're going to hopefully open up home care soon.
And from there expand to just dominate the industry, help people in need, children with autism, elders, and just anyone that we can. We want to help out, and we want to really take over, Bezrat Hashem. That's it.
Okay, I'm here with Leah. Woohoo! Leah's an old client of mine. We work together at Freedom Care. You were running a killer event over there. You hired me in for some video photo work. Headshots, woohoo, party. And now you're working with Freedom Care still, but you're on to other stuff. You're helping companies upscale, I think the term was, right? So the way you translated that, just bringing people up to speed. So people are growing, they're launching, they're scaling, they're branching out, and you're doing what for them?
I had a clinic that approached me and they wanted to do an acquisition, so they approached me to do an acquisition. So we set up policies, procedures, we made sure that the old business has a model that will work for the new business. Then we have people that say, hey, I want to create my own billing. I keep outsourcing billing. I want my own billing company. We build it from the ground up. I have people that have come to us from the home care industry that want to branch out in other states. We help them credential, we do the lobbying for them, we build operations, we build business development, we create partnerships with them. Sometimes that involves lobbying, whatever it takes.
So this report is for a fractional CFO company, and they're interested because they work with, some of the companies that you may or may not have worked with. You might have worked with them already before, but obviously.
Shout out to Freedom Care.
Yeah, so in the industry, there's a lot of people making a lot of moves like you're involved with. So what you're seeing a company making a move, right? So why are these people making the move in the first place?
Okay, so let me tell you, right now the industry is struggling in general a lot, and people are looking to make money. That's what this is about. So it's people that are in the healthcare industry, the hospital industry, the home care industry, provider industry. They want to make money. So they're pretty much open to any way they can make money. I would say my average client basically tells me, this is what I want to do, you make it happen.
Okay, so I just got so much more than what I was hearing before. So you're basically tapping into your old network, right? And you're saying, do you want to moonlight for me, basically?
Basically, but the whole industry and the whole, especially because I grew up Hasidish, we would always say, I know a guy. So over the years, I've been doing this so many times. I've opened up COVID centers, all the testing centers that you saw was all my people, all my clients.
All your guys.
Yeah, the vaccine sites, this ketamine clinic, a migraine center, and all these things are the same. They're all the same, they're all different. It's all business, it all needs to be structured a certain way.
Okay, a few things. So first of all, this report that we're doing, a video report that we're making, is for an outsourced CFO company. So I can say something about the business model perspective. Similar business model to what you're saying, except for the people that were the talent on our side is not necessarily moonlighting per se, but similar idea that you can get people for your projects. It could be long term, it could just be project based to help you do your acquisition, your next analyze your deal, whatever it is, right? So everyone says the VA is broken, right? Give me your best example of why the VA is broken in 2 sentences, if you could.
I don't know if it's broken. People don't like to use the VA for some reason, but I believe there is a huge market in the VA.
VA's perspective, like dealing with the VA, that system's broken. They're very difficult to deal with, the VA. Getting approved could take a few months, right? So that's
program. If it's an 8 and a 10 program, then it takes time to get approved. However, I have a company who can get you approved within 3 months. And you can start care right away because they give you some kind of a, pre-approval of that, and they provide, fundings for VA. You want to get
So you guys know each other, right?
For about 10-15 minutes. We did talk on the phone. We just realized we did have a conversation a few months ago, but we really just met now at the show.
So you guys are both operating in Jersey, pretty similar businesses. What do you think, and do you guys yet know or understand how your businesses are different? Like, obviously, you guys...
Our businesses are very similar. We work together, sharing ideas. There's room for both of us, so we definitely could work together.
Of course, but is there a different arm or different approach, different strategy? Did you guys kind of get there yet, or you guys are basically doing the same thing, slightly different people obviously, but
Depends if you talk about marketing. Everyone has their own marketing strategies. However, getting leads is basically the same for everyone, I believe, because there's facilities you can get, like digital marketing, and then there's you need to have salespeople, So it's probably the same. I believe so. I mean, that's my take on that. I mean,
Yeah, the structure of the business is the same. The operations may vary, slightly from different parts, when it comes to marketing or, different softwares that we maybe use. But yes, it's basically the same business, targeting the same people. We're both private pay, our clients, so yeah, it's similar.
Okay, maybe we'll get to some differences. What's keeping you up at night? What's keeping you up at night? What are you guys worried about?
it's a good question. Basically, how to fulfill cases. That's the main issue that we have with caregivers. With VA, especially with the CCN, you get like 2 hours a day. Some cases, but a lot of times you get more hours per day. However, if you have 2 hours per day, it's really difficult to fulfill cases because it's kind of nobody wants to go for 2 hours, for a case, except if you have like 4 cases in the same area, you can use the same client with the same caregiver.
For me, it's more, you can work on a client sometimes for weeks or sometimes months, and then you can have them for a day or two and they can pass away. So it's very unpredictable. You have to constantly keep on adding more and more clients because being in this industry, you have people that are old, many times sick, and you turnover as far as the clients go sometimes you could lose 5 clients in a week, and it's a lot. So you have to constantly be bringing on new clients.
With one of our clients in the CDPAP space, they discovered that it was taking 6 weeks to hit profitability for a client. 6 weeks. So if they were on for less than 6 weeks, they lost money on that person. So I guess what's your next step? What are you trying to go next? First of all, size-wise, are you guys around the same? Where are you guys at, populations-wise? How many cases?
I don't know how large. I don't know how big. I've been around a little bit longer than him, so maybe a little bit more, but I'm not sure. We didn't get to that in the conversation yet.
You started to get clients 6 months ago?
You started 6 months ago? Wow, Mausov. Wow. So
the company established 3 years ago, but it took time for us to, with the contracts and everything to get running.
Well, let's get your license, right? Is that what it was? Now I remember our phone call. Okay.
It took me over a year to get my license.
So what did you guys do for a year not getting money? How did you pull that off financially? How did you make that boat float?
I do have investors, so they're not here, but I have investors, so that's how we keep up financially. But it is difficult because it's still a challenge. However, but we are on the right path, and it's how we go on financially.
Wow. Okay, so I guess obviously you're more on the startup side. You've been around for many, many years. What's your next thing? What do you got on your horizon?
What's the question?
What's on your horizon? What do you want to do next? What do you want to go? What are you thinking about next?
I'm really thinking of just growing my current business. I know a lot of people are always looking to branch out in healthcare. I do also work on the side for a grafts company, so I sell grafts for wound patients, but that's totally independent from the home care. But I'm looking just to expand my home care, currently in the state of New Jersey, just to grow that, and I'm looking for opportunities for growth in possibly other states, to grow in other states. Yeah.
So that's so interesting. You have technically a job?
I do.
So
W-2 of a different company.
How does that work out? How did that happen? You just kind of continued over? How's it worth it for you at this point?
It's fairly new. It happened, really started about 2 years ago. I met somebody random at a show, just like this, who also has a home care agency. And he introduced me to this other opportunity, and that's really how I got into it. So it's just being in home care and meeting people at shows. People always ask when you come to a show, what's your point? What do you want to gain from the show? What's your goals? And I always say it's just to meet people, and you never know. And it's just an example of how I met somebody and how I became friends with them. And even this fellow, I talked to him on the phone, but I never met him, and we just met now. So you never know where it leads to.
So, you're saying that the pricing is kind of baked into the cake. You're saying you don't have to figure out that formula. You don't have to figure out. You got a number from someone else, essentially, and then you just have to figure out how to deliver the actual product a little bit better, a little bit.
And we have to review and look into each individual case. Underwriters look into each case and say, let's say it's something that had a great experience and see by experience that this is something that is worth taking, we can say, oh, for this kind of a risk, for this particular client, we would maximize all our discounts and whatever we can to get this account because it's worthwhile. On other accounts, we would say we need to charge the maximum we can in order to make it worthwhile. And another account, we will say, even if we charge the max, we will never be able to get to a number that will really cover our risk. So we stay away, we decline it.
How would you describe your business in like a word or two?
So my business is called Headland Partners, and my partner Joe and I, we help people buy and sell home care businesses across the country. Home care, home health, and hospice.
Okay, sweet. So when you say you help people buy and sell, what are the specific things you're actually executing on? Obviously, you're getting the business sold or bought, but like, and when you go into that, you break that down, there's so many different things that a transaction takes. So which part are you guys helping with? Maybe it's all of it, I don't know.
So M&A is a really complex process. Every transaction is different, but every successful transaction has certain features in common. The secret sauce is just knowing all the things that could go wrong and trying to look for them before the process, before making that introduction. We try and package the whole deal. We try to make it as straightforward as possible for the sellers, coach them, present the information as simply as possible to the buyers, identify what the deal killers might be, and try and solve for them.
Okay, so, I have a home care company, I'm doing all right, I want out, right? So you come to me and you say, explain to me the process. What are you guys doing? Just walk me through, like, what does it look like from the start to the finish of a deal like that? How does a deal like that get made?
So there's a lot of outreach that has to get conducted. It's like any sales business. There's a lot of a sales process to get leads, to talk to sellers. Once we have that first conversation, that means they're already somewhat engaged, which is always a good thing. I'll talk to them at a high level about their business, if it's Medicaid, private pay, contracts, get some kind of like preliminary information, patient census, revenue, and I'll kind of figure out, the size of their operation from that. We'll have a conversation about valuation. So, if a seller wants, all the money in the world, it's going to be hard to help that person. If they want $3, it's going to be easy. There's always, a push and a pull. There's somewhere in the middle. Is it okay if I use my hands? Yeah, okay, fine. So if the market, a great way to think about it is anything's for sale. Everything has a price, right? I wouldn't sell my house for $1, I'd sell it for $1 billion. Everything has a price, the only question is, can you agree on one? And then you'll transact. So I'll tell a seller, based on our opinion, based on our data, and we've been doing this for a while, and we've closed a bunch of deals across the country. There's a market range. Most offers will fall in this range. If the seller is within that range or below it, I'm very likely to be able to help them and we'll proceed. If they're going to be, right on that upper end, I'm going to be honest with them and say, look, happy to take your information, but I don't think I'm going to be able to help you get that, and we won't engage. And one of the problems that a lot of the people we speak to have is they'll talk to people who are not realistic. So grounding expectations in reality, interviewing them for that information and grounding in reality is a huge part of what we do. Once we're on the same page about that, it's a very straightforward process. We'll help, a lot of brokers, will just send tax returns, P&Ls. They don't really, that's not what the business is. A bakery and a gas station have a P&L and a tax return. We understand what makes home care tick, and we'll package that all together for the buyers, and we'll do all the work for the seller. We'll discreetly market the business. We'll make introductions. We tell the seller, we already know who your buyer is probably. That's almost always true. And instead of taking a year from that conversation, about ready to sell to actually, concluding a transaction, we can do it in 90 days or so.
Let's break down the financial part. You said, P&L is not going to really help move the needle. You said, tax return is not going to move the needle. What are the financials that are going to get that home care agency sold? What are the buyers looking for in terms of actual data? What do they want to see?
The most important thing is billing and payroll, I would say. That's what drives the business, the cost of goods sold. Proving that out, proving the historicals, and just checking that all ties out. We've seen a lot of deals die because people don't pay overtime correctly. It's a big deal killer. That's one of the main things that we'll look out for early on. So hopefully at the point where we're setting up an introduction between a buyer and a seller, it's a real deal and it's actually going to be moving forward.
Yeah, sure. Finally. Woohoo! We've been trying to make this. We've been trying to make this happen.
Well, it's happening. Let's go.
Okay, awesome. Right, so far we're having fun. we're digging into the financial part of what makes a deal get done in the home care space. So I'm coming from it from I work for a fractional CFO company. Sure. Obviously, we're involved in M&A also, and other financial processes for these home care agencies. And sometimes, so I guess like when you guys are coming in, their paperwork's in order, so to speak. They know they have the data ready to go, or it's a mess, and you're seeing a whole slew of issues. And do you guys got to do like, okay, we got to get this into shape before this is ready to go out to market type of thing?
So it runs the gamut, obviously, with sellers who are organized, who have their stuff together, and sellers who aren't. Just to get back to your other point, the most important thing that we find in getting a deal done between a seller and a buyer is matching the expectation between seller and buyer, right? So many brokerage firms will list a home care business, and they'll list it at an irrationally high price. The seller has no expectation that's in line with where the market's at. Our job is to work with sellers to make sure they understand where the market's at for their agency, what their unique value is, and then on the opposite side, to work with buyers to realize what their focus is, what their core business strategy is, what areas of expansion can really help drive growth. And by doing that, matching those expectations, we can get deals done.
So you're saying that knowing the buyer's value add strategy, so to speak, to borrow like a real estate type term, they make this type of switch, profit by doing X, Y, Z. So then you'll see where the upside is for who. That's your kind of a similar play.
Exactly. Very similar in a lot of ways to real estate. I mean, a deal is a deal, but it's much more complicated in merging businesses. Every buyer has their unique skills that they focus on, services they focus on, geographic area that they focus on, and there's areas of expansion that are more and less attractive based on that profile. And Nelly probably can get more into that. How we track the menu for buyers, what they're looking for, etc.
Let's go to that area of expansion, topic, because obviously people are shifting out of New York. It seems like, with the CDPAP. I mean, I'm making assumptions. You tell me what's actually happening. Where are people looking towards? And I'm curious what you see the valuations being, and maybe how that is different than where they were at a year ago, 5 years ago. What are the pricings like?
That's a great question. So the wind's been blowing away from New York for quite some time, and we've been trying to help those buyers navigate those new territories. Part of our services is not just finding deals, it's also helping buyers strategize what their acquisition platform should look like, which states they should target, what kind of sizing. There's definitely a valuation arbitrage opportunity. New York definitely trades at a significant premium to the rest of the country. So you can buy out of state relatively cheap, on an apples to apples basis. It's a huge country. There's people forget that. People are super focused on New York, right?
You're talking about the U.S., not the U.K., right?
100%.
There we go.
100%. It's a big old country.
It's a big country.
Yeah,
a lot of states. 50 currently. We might be getting to 51. We'll see.
And there's a lot of cultural differences as well that people from New York sometimes miss, and we try to help bridge that as well. Like a lot of these are very community-based businesses. They could be very ethnic, or based in a very tight geographic region. It's very different to New York. In New York, people want to scale, leverage as quick as possible, and there's a gap. They have all this human capital, they have the financial capital, they have the strategic knowledge, but buying and selling a business is challenging, and that's why people come to us, and we try and help them strategize which states they should buy in, and then we go to market, we find those deals for them.
And on that note, on that note, in working with mostly New York buyers, and working with out-of-state sellers, just one piece of advice I'd like to give buyers when working with sellers: do not ask the seller, "Why haven't you grown this agency to be $100 million?" Do not, assume that everybody needs to scale this up to wazoo. At the end of the day, that difference in mindset is an arbitrage opportunity for New York buyers to come in, add a ton of value, and grow the agency. So don't ask that question.
And it comes back to a point that you raised earlier about, what's the financial record keeping of the company going to look like, and it is different. But one of the main things to remember, like the secret sauce, is that it touches on the point Joe just made. We have to remember that if a guy has, 30 years in the business and he's got 65 patients, that $200,000-$300,000 in profits he's making, he is the richest person he knows.
Yep.
And in New York, that blows people's minds. But that's why, as I'm talking about, it's a big country. People have very different views of the world and their place in it. And it's important to be respectful of that. People have built this for 30 years. And to talk to the point about, what the financial position of the company looks like, very frequently, the seller is the bottleneck. In New York, it's about leverage and scale. Very frequently, these mom and pop businesses, that person who's running it, they've been a clinician, they cover shifts, they do marketing, they do recruiting, they do intake, they do the paperwork, they do finances, they do bookkeeping, billing, payroll. It's very hard to be good at all those things. Those are all totally separate skills, and they don't come naturally. And maybe they come a bit easier in New York because we're all kind of doing similar things. So like we have models to base ourselves off of, but we see companies based on run by RNs. They don't know anything about bookkeeping, and the books are a mess. And it can get very murky talking about add backs and what's valid revenue, what should we include, what should we exclude, and it's very challenging. And very frequently their books and records don't tell not even the best story, they don't even tell the correct story, and they don't know where to start. When you say to a seller, what's this? They don't know. Why is this there? I don't even know what that is. Oh, that was, for my cousin. It could be anything, and that makes it really, really difficult. And one of the ways that we bring value to the buyers and sellers we work with is because we cut to the heart of what really matters in these businesses. And that's not the story told by the P&L and tax return, and that's one of the reasons that people appreciate working with us and how we get things done quickly.
So let's go back to that cut to the heart part. Bottom line, a business in South Carolina or wherever else it might be, you're gonna give the valuation based on, what's the formula, and I'm curious how that pricing premium changed over the last whatever.
So I'll do a quick intro on that and let Nelly, dive into the details. Most traditional M&A firms will look at a P&L, they'll look at a tax return, they'll see, what the net income or adjusted or EBITDA is being reported, and they'll do the add backs, right? They'll work on personal expenses, and by looking at the personal expenses, they can add back to that net profit what they think the business is worth. You slap a multiple on that, and you have a valuation. We approach it very differently, and Nelly will dive into the details. But to make a long story short, we're building it ground up. So we understand the markets, we understand what the reimbursement rate is, what the payroll is, what the various other expenses are. And by doing that, we can very quickly give a strategic buyer a full view into what the agency's true profitability will be after they acquire that agency.
So you don't care what it is right now, you care what it's gonna be, and you're kind of pricing it based on the future, based on you're going to do X, Y, Z, it's going to be worth X.
Exactly, which is exactly what strategic buyers are looking for. PE firms, sophisticated buyers do not care if the agency owner is currently paying their mortgage or car insurance out of the business. It's irrelevant. What's relevant to them is what that business will produce after they buy it, and then how they can grow it from there. So what we do is we approach it from that ground up valuation level, as opposed to other M&A firms that will do top down, looking at the financials of the company, and doing the recast. We're approaching it ground up, which is a whole value add to buyers.
So what they're buying, they're buying the number of aids, they're buying the number of lives being serviced.
So if I may, we have a very sophisticated financial model that normalizes for everything and gives a very clear snapshot of what a company like the one we're analyzing would do if you zeroed out all the noise. And we're always within a very small margin of error. But the real answer...
What's the data that you're actually looking at, right? Like, what do you... Obviously, the potential is, whatever. The potential for anything is... Let's start. We were talking about just the topics what's actually going to go into the dollar amount.
Is it rolling? Yes.
Yeah. So that's what we were talking about, right? Yeah. So again, we're talking about the valuation of a company, what actually is going to make the dollar happen or not happen or whatever.
So there's intrinsic value to a license and contract, right? It takes time to start up. So even a company that has 0 patients, 0 staff, 0 revenue has intrinsic value. And reinforcing that point, a company that has 20 patients will not be profitable. This is a scale business. There's still intrinsic value to that, to starting from 1 instead of starting from 0, right? 1 to 2 is much, much easier than 0 to 1. there's intrinsic value. Every state has different numbers, but it's based on the difficulty to start up. Beyond that point, we have a very sophisticated financial model. The main inputs are probably hours of billing and matching up the revenue to the hours of payroll and making sure it's paid correctly, compliantly, overtime, payroll taxes, all those sorts of things. And then the cost of running an office and an admin team. And we kind of model out, if there's a mom and pop who do everything from their bedroom, there's no staff cost, right? There's no rent, there's no utilities. But we'll kind of try and normalize for all those things up or down to get to like what a company like that would cost if it was being run professionally. And it kind of cuts both ways.
So do you care about lifetime value of a client? Do you care about the marketing costs for a client? Do you care about, cash flow, reimbursement timeframes?
We'll always help model out the reimbursement time frame. That's a major factor in working capital. In some states it's very low, in some states it's very high. It's not part of the valuation. It's just dealing with the reality as it is. If that's how it is it's not going to be a business-specific function. Reimbursement time frame is going to be a state-specific function. If someone wants to get into Arizona, they're going to have to deal with however long the reimbursement period takes. That's external to anything core in the business. We'll help identify that, but it just is what it is. If you want to buy it, there's no getting around that. So we'll look at the hours, payroll, the cost of the overhead, and we'll compute a margin. And then there's going to be like I mentioned, there was like a market range where we think where offers are going to come in at, and there'll be a transaction if the highest buyer and seller are in agreement about what the valuation is going to be. But the real answer to your question is much simpler than that. It's worth what the highest buyer is willing to pay, and if you agree, you will transact, and if you don't, you will not. We can provide data and insights, but we can't make people offer more than they want to. We can't make a seller accept something they're not comfortable offering. Deals happen where there's a meeting of the minds. It's not more complex than that. We do a lot of heavy financial analysis and a lot of due diligence review to try and get it to a point where that's an easy conversation to have, but it's not more complex than that. People buy and sell if they agree.
Sweet. Yeah, at the end of the day, right? People want something, people have something. When you say that we do that, you guys have a team in-house, you're cranking those numbers. Like, what does your corporate structure look like?
We have a really talented and good-looking team. It's us. Yeah. We also have an analyst on the team. He's fantastic. He's very helpful.
Okay, so you guys are doing the biz dev, the finding the buyers, finding the sellers, and crunching the numbers to figure out what this thing is worth. What do you guys call yourselves? I mean, obviously you're an M&A firm, but what do you guys like professionally? What would your title be if you weren't doing this thing?
Unemployed?
No, I'm saying you have like a specific. Are you a CFO? Are you?
I like to tell people I'm a shotgun. I'm a matchmaker, glorified matchmaker. We do a lot of hard work. We roll our sleeves up. Went to law school and business school, both sides of the Atlantic. It sounds very cool, but you can make anything sound cool. It's not about the titles. It's about results and getting win-wins and delivering. And on most days we do that.
Some of the things that our clients are looking at are like, how much does it cost us to get a client, a case? How much is the case worth, over the lifetime? So what's that like in the pediatric space? I'm not familiar with that space. What's it like for you?
So the pediatric space is pretty different. It's funded by Medicaid or by commercial insurance.
It's obviously a different game, right? So how's the game different, and like how do you vary from, the core kind of offering is pretty similar probably to like, different home care probably. But, maybe the reimbursements are different. Maybe it takes you longer to get paid. I don't know. What's the difference?
So it's pretty straightforward, which is really what I like about it. We're providing skilled care in a home care setting. Our employees are skilled nurses, RNs for the most part. We're sending them out into the homes that have a pediatric patient because we really believe that every child belongs at home. And if a child can get that care at home surrounded by their family, then we're going to make that happen. Our goal is to provide the consistency and the reliability that doesn't really exist so much in home care. So we built a model centered around making our employees full-time employees rather than treating them as agency type employees. and with benefits, with offering them full-time work opportunities to make sure that our clients are getting that full-time care, that consistent full-time care, less call-outs, less changes, and that the nurses themselves are also getting the full-time work, which is how we retain them and scale the business.
So how are you able to pull that off? Because I assume you only get paid when you can send them there. So how do you pay them when you're not placing them somewhere?
So we bring in our nurses from overseas and we employ them full-time. So they're full-time employees of us. We obviously have to guarantee the work. So there is a little bit of a risk involved because you want to make sure that you have work for them and that you have that full-time work. It actually works in our favor because you have call-outs and then you might have other nurses who their client is in the hospital, so they fill in for the call-outs. So we built a model where it covers for each other. It was a little scary at first because that model doesn't exist in home care. So you're really committing. It's a big commitment, but we've seen that it really pays for itself. And it's been a thankfully very successful model, and everyone's happy. Our employees are happy that they have that consistency and the stability, and the clients are thrilled because it's something that they've never been offered before.
Yeah, my niece works in a school where every kid has serious medical conditions, and they all have nurses, and it's a constant game of whack-a-mole essentially. Maybe they have a great nurse, and the great nurse means that this person is actually in tune to like the million things that could go wrong with these very limited kids. Unfortunately, have very serious medical stuff. And then there's other kids who like they come into school with a different nurse, and then my niece, who doesn't have a medical background, ends up suctioning these kids. It's a disaster in the industry by pulling them in full time. So is that something that anyone else is doing? Is that you're the first one to do this?
I haven't really found anyone that does it. I'm always looking because we're always looking for other ideas and for people to collaborate with and to share ideas and talk about our challenges because everybody has challenges wherever they are in the industry. I don't see it much, but also in answer to your question, what you were saying, right? A school with medically fragile children, we may be sending a nurse, to a client they've never been at, right? Maybe their usual clients in the hospital. We're filling their shifts with someone they've never been to. So we had to build that in also, right? We had to build an account for that. And that's why we have the management staff who orients them to every case. And all of our nurses are obviously working off of a plan of care, which gives them their daily schedules, goals, and interventions. So we've really found that it's a model that works very well.
In your industry, how much is a case worth to you guys? How much how many months are you staying with you? What's your numbers look like from that perspective? This is for a fractional CFO company. We're curious about the numbers.
You want me to talk about numbers?
Yes. How much does it cost in marketing? I don't know. Like what was it?
Okay, so this is actually really interesting. I have yet to hire a marketer, sadly. Unfortunately, there's a bigger need out there with sick children than there are for nurses. We cannot staff these cases quickly enough. Sadly, we have a huge waiting list. We have parents, hospitals, doctors calling us all the time asking for nurses. And when we take on a case, like I said, we take it on and we commit to it. So we'll only take on cases when we have nurses available to take it on. And what I've seen in the pediatric home care space, and really what I've seen in the home care space, is that there's just not enough skilled healthcare workers. So I haven't needed to hire a marketer, but that's not necessarily a good thing for what it means for our patients and our clients. And
for sure. So you're saying you're limited by the fact that you just can't hire enough people, but you're saying that your bottleneck right now is you just don't have the staff, the nurses.
So there's a huge healthcare shortage in this country, which is actually why we're bringing in our nurses from overseas. And I'm constantly recruiting. So at this point, it's really an immigration. We're bound by whatever immigration policies are in place. So as we bring in nurses, we staff them. It's literally as soon as they come in, we train them, we orient them, and they are staffed at cases. We have a fantastic name because we have the best nurses, and I can't staff them fast enough, sadly. But yes, there is a huge healthcare shortage in this country, and it's definitely contributing to that. Meaning if I had unlimited workforce, there's endless opportunity. There's endless opportunity. I'm located in New Jersey, so there's endless opportunity in New Jersey. And that's really, that is what's missing in this industry, is having a consistent, reliable, and also highly qualified workforce.
So besides workforce issues, what other concerns is your business facing?
Proper databases, proper softwares, with your ability to bring on community-based referrals, and the home care industry can make you very successful. The goal is to minimize your overall overhead admin costs by utilizing good softwares, good databases, good vendors, and just making sure that you can make some money.
So I'm hearing about a lot of people trying to get into Missouri or whatever, right? So is there hope one day to be bought by one of these guys or something like that?
My hope is I don't think like that. My thinking is to grow my business every day. I'm thankful for the opportunity to have my own business and to grow it. And I think that sometimes can be a mistake. You don't want to have a good exit. You want to know what you can build and how you can build it, and then the time and place will come for something to develop. And if that makes sense, you're going to do it. But there's no easy way out. You got to put the work in.
How much money does it cost you to get a new client these days, a new case?
Zero.
Of course, it has to cost you something. They're not just walking the door.
Yes, you are. You're offering a service. People are old. They need help in their home. In Missouri, it's CDPAP, which is referred to in New York, where it's family caregiving. So it shouldn't cost you $1. You're offering them a service where they're making money, they're bringing in an income. And if you hit the right market and hit the right people, the people are there. You just have to go down there yourself and market the product, but it doesn't cost you anything to onboard them. Zero.
But you're doing the marketing yourself, so that's not costing you money. But if you're doing the work, that means it's costing you.
Correct myself. I'm not doing the marketing. You're a provider of services. As a provider of services, you're on the state lists of recommended people. So if you go to a rural area, the state will refer you out free of charge.
So you're getting your people for free. Then how long do they last stay with you? I mean, you started pretty recently, but what's your average?
If it's consumer-directed care, they'll be there forever. If it's PCA care, well, then as long as you can staff it, they'll be there.
How are you going to get from 30 to I don't know where you're trying to get to, but what's your growth strategy?
So to grow, you need a combination of every different element of marketing. So eventually you need to spend money in marketing, but spending money in marketing right away is very difficult because you don't have the money, right? So you're going to borrow the money, you're going to get yourself into debt, and I don't believe in businesses operating from debt, especially from a startup perspective. So organic marketing, going out there, going to daycare centers that offer PCA services anyways, the form of PCA services, they'll just send it to you in exchange for you sending them to their daycare center. But that's just an example. But community outreach is big. Community outreach is free of charge. You get down there, you get underground, you get down and dirty, bring the patients on, and then when your business is bringing enough revenue, you figure out other strategies, whether it's going online, going on Facebook, going on a paid ad campaign, but that's the bottom line.
So if I want to travel with my mom, who's 80 years old, can't really get around too well, and has, let's just say, for example, has early stages of cognitive decline, I don't want to leave her behind. So I want to make sure mom gets to enjoy the vacation in Costa Rica also. So what we did is we worked with this company and a number of different travel agency companies and hotels to put together these packages to actually have, while the mom is in the hotel, to have somebody dedicated to taking her around, enjoy some of the beach, the sun, some of the tourist spots within access, so that the rest of the family can have a worry-free vacation and not feel guilty that mom didn't get to go. Any home care business owner at this point who is not open to the idea or is not making steps towards diversifying their revenue streams is going to find themselves in a lot of trouble, or having to put themselves in a situation where they're going to have to sell to the bigger players that can weather the storm. And that's that's what I see happening in the industry.
For patients, you need to look into what that demographic is, right? What are the needs of that client base? Is everybody 95 years old, or are they 75 years old? And what's the length of time that you might get a return on your investment for the assets that you buy?